Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will study the second act of Macbeth. From the first act, we know that Macbeth meets three witches. These witches make prophecies about Macbeth. They prophesy that Macbeth will become the king of Scotland. The prophecies of the witches and later the words of his wife Lady Macbeth awaken the ambitious nature of Macbeth, and he decides to murder King Duncan while he pays a visit to Macbeth's castle. Now let us move towards the second act. Macbeth makes his way towards the king's bedchamber. He encounters Banquo with his son Filius. Banquo has been unable to sleep and explained to Macbeth that he has been dreaming of the weird sisters, the witches. Macbeth also wants to talk about the witches and their prophecies, so they agree to meet again and discuss the matter. After arranging to meet again in order to discuss the matter, Banquo asserts his allegiance to the king and bids good night to Macbeth. Now Macbeth is alone and he has an extraordinary experience. He sees a dagger in the air. The dagger was indicating the way to Duncan's chamber. At this point, we have a thoughtful soliloquy by Macbeth. Like most soliloquies, this one also clearly reveals Macbeth's ill intentions to the audience. I would compare the dagger simply to the ambition of Macbeth, which he sees and wishes to clutch it quickly and not let go of it. He is so engrossed with wicked ambitions and so drunk with pride that the vision of the dagger appears to be the final driving factor for Macbeth to commit the disgraceful murder. After this, he is thoroughly committed to Duncan. Here the dagger is very symbolic. The dagger changes its color and becomes red, becomes blood-ridden, soon, like how Macbeth's mind is filled with bloody thoughts of killing Duncan for becoming king. It is one of the most significant passages of the play, accurately revealing what Macbeth is. He was stainless at first, that is, he was good-hearted at first, but just like the dagger which later got red with blood, he becomes bloodthirsty later to the extent of killing many people besides just killing Duncan. Now he is convinced that there is no such thing and he moves towards the king's chamber. Now the second scene starts. The guards of Duncan's chamber were drugged by Lady Macbeth. And later, Lady Macbeth meets Macbeth in the lower courtyard as he emerges from the king's room itself. It means Macbeth has committed the murder and he has come back. Macbeth's conscience is clearly disturbed by what he has done, and once more his wife criticizes his lack of firmness. The success of the plot is also in danger because Macbeth has brought the daggers with him. Lady Macbeth returns to the scene of the murder in order to place the dagger and also to smear the king's sleeping servants with blood. It was a very bold act on her part. As the scene closes, we hear a loud and persistent knocking at the door. Now let us move towards the third scene of the second act. The knocking continues, but the porter does not immediately open the door. Instead, he plays a game with himself in which he imagines himself as the porter of the hell and jokes about the kind of sinners he might let in. This scene may be taken for comic relief. It also serves to heighten the suspense. Eventually, he opens the door to Lennox and Macduff. They have been commanded to call upon the king to arrange the royal departure. It is early morning, and most of those in the castle are still asleep. One who is not asleep is Macbeth, and he directs Macduff to the king's chamber. While Macduff goes to wake the king, Lennox remarks upon the extraordinary weather of the previous night. His catalogue of unnatural events are high winds, screaming and wailing voices, the calling of birds, and tremors in the earth. These things are apocalyptic in character and suggest a direct connection between the events of the universe at large and the events within the castle. Only a moment passes before the news breaks: King Duncan has been murdered. On hearing the terrible revelation, Macbeth's acts are beyond suspicion. Macbeth admits that he killed the guards of the king's chamber in a rage, and it was not a part of the original plan. Lady Macbeth arrives there, and when she comes to know about the murder of Duncan, she faints. Later, the assembled Thanes of Scotland resolve to avenge the act of treason, the murder of Duncan. Surprisingly, Duncan's son, Malcolm and Donalbain, thinking themselves open to the charge of murdering their father, plan to flee to England and Ireland. Now, the last scene of the second act. On his way from the castle, Ross encounters an old man who confirms the widespread reports of disruption in the natural world. Macduff appears with fresh news that Duncan is buried and that his sons have fled and that the kingship has passed to Macbeth. In this way, the opening prophecies of the witches have been completed. Like the witches, the old man is also a traditional figure in many works of literature. In contrast to the witch's vision of what will be, the old man here exemplifies the certainty of what has been. The old man describes the world as he knows. All the named events are not simply natural disasters, they are reversals of the expected natural order. Daylight has been replaced by night. A falcon has been killed by an owl, a much smaller creature. And the horses of the king's stables are said to have eaten each other. All these things describe the horror that has taken place in the form of the murder of a just King Duncan. Here, the second act ends. Now, we will be back with the third act very soon. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.